Welcome back to the CardinalSports.com recruiting chat. I'm your host, David Lackford. You guys have the questions. I have the answers. A lot of questions this week. So without further ado, let's get right to it. All right, the first question comes from Jay Lewis. He asked thoughts on Owens, Clarkson, and DeAndre Moore. As we all know now, Ruben Owens, he gone. Pierce Clarkson, the quarterback out at St. John Bosco's, and his receiver, DeAndre Moore, committed to Scott Satterfield. Scott Satterfield packed it up in the Mayflower van and hauled tail up 71 or 65, 71, right? I don't know. Anyway, he's in Cincinnati now, and Ruben Owens didn't follow him. I don't think Clarkson's going to follow him. So the question is, who does Clarkson have an offer from? Who does Moore have an offer from, right? Because technically, none of these kids are committed to Louisville because the coach left. You commit to a coach, not an NIL program, all right? So Jeff Brohm is on his way. He's probably there now to watch St. John Bosco play whoever they're playing in the California State Championship game. So this is interesting, right? If Brohm really didn't have any work to do and they were so committed to the University of Louisville, there would be no need to take a flight out there to watch this game, correct? There's work to do, right? So with DeAndre Moore, it's always been my belief from sources out in California that told me Moore was really looking at either Georgia or Texas, right? They say Georgia because one of the coaches at his old school before he transferred to St. John Bosco's is now on the staff there in some capacity at Georgia. A lot of people are saying that Georgia's the spot he's going to flip to. Others think it's Texas. I reached out to someone at Texas. I didn't get a response. So normally if it's bad news, they'll just tell me, nah, he ain't coming or he ain't a take, right? But there's no response, and that person usually responds. So something's in the works there. Will Brohm be able to convince him to stay? I think he could make a very good argument. I mean, you look at the players that he's had that have gone to the league. You got Rondale Moore, who's the focal point of that offense. A lot of screen plays, a lot of short passes, catch and run type stuff with blockers in front. Moore's a good catch and run kid. He can also, run routes downfield. He's a top-ranked 4-star for a reason. So I think that of all those teams, Georgia, he's going to have to wait in line. Texas, probably going to have to wait in line out there too. I don't know. But Louisville, the receiver room is thin. He's a top prospect with skills. He could make an instant impact as a true freshman the same way that Rondale Moore did under Jeff Brohm. So I think Brohm has a pitch for this kid. The question is it going to be enough in 2 weeks to undo the relationships he had with these other schools? Now, people be like, no, he's been committed so long. Ruben Owens was committed so long. He got a tattoo on his arm, said 502. Satterfield left 2 days later. He's committed to Texas A&M. So that while Owens is going quick, it looks like Moore is holding out to see what Brohm's going to talk about, what Brohm's going to say. Give him at least a chance, right? So I think you got a 50-50 shot there, maybe to pull him back into the mix and get him to sign here. If I'm being objective and I'm looking at the different areas he could go to, different schools, the quickest path to the field and film is Louisville, without question. But then also there's something to be said for going to Georgia, going to Texas, not playing immediately, getting film in your second or third year without much wear and tear on your body, headed straight to the league, right? And if it don't work out there, he can always hit the portal. So it's not like this done deal. No matter which way he goes, I think Brohm has a shot. He just has to go out there and convince the kid, look, you're going to be featured in this offense and you're going to put up numbers. All he has to do is play Charlie Jones, David Bell, Rondale Moore. But I think Jones and Moore are kind of more what DeAndre Moore is than David Bell was. And also other receivers do well there too. So that's what I think. And the same thing will go down with Pierce Clarkson. He's going to say, look, in my system, we do this, we do that, et cetera, et cetera. But also keep in mind, Brohm is there to watch them too. Okay, because the way the recruiting process works is you have to evaluate these kids. Now, he evaluated him at Purdue, obviously, because he offered him. So maybe he's just there because, I want to get eyes on this kid, see him live. It's a hell of a game to see a kid, though, and because it's the state championship game, I've seen good players fold under that pressure, but maybe that's what Brohm wants to see. Does my guy fold under pressure? I honestly maybe making too much into the Browns there to evaluate thing, because it's the end of the cycle. And so what's he going to scramble and find somebody else? Maybe he brings one of his quarterbacks from Purdue. Brady Allen is a guy that we'll talk about in a minute. Or maybe he gets the kid Brown that's committed to him to come. He's from, I think he was from Venice, and then he transferred to a prep school. He's committed to Purdue now, Brohm, but Brown's not at Purdue. So we'll see. But if I had to put my money on it, I'd say Brohm is there to convince them to come, or to hear them out to determine whether or not he wants Clarkson to come. But I think that you already got him committed to the school. Who knows what other options he has, right? Is he going to go to A&M? Because it's Adidas schools, right? Adam Gordon said maybe UCLA, right? But I don't think that he's considering the Nike Adidas thing right here. I think UCLA is Jumpman, Jordan, right? So I think Clarkson wants to send the kid to the Adidas schools. Who else you got? Miami, Kansas, A&M, Nebraska. I mean, does he even have a relationship with any of those schools? I don't think he does. I think he's been very committed to Louisville. So Satterfield leaving in the middle of the night puts him in a tricky spot, just like he put everybody else in a tricky spot. So I don't know. They could keep him. From what I've been told, though, after Satterfield was relocated to Cincinnati, the word that I get is basically that these kids are going to decommit, and Brohm has to go out there and save it from happening. Does Brohm want to save it from happening? I think with DeAndre Moore, absolutely. Aaron Williams, absolutely. Clarkson, is he what Brohm quarterbacks usually are? No, not really. But is Brohm a football coach who can adapt his style and his system? I mean, it's just a wrinkle here, a wrinkle there. You know, football is very simple with a lot of little details. Brohm said that himself. So I think that he can make it work with Clarkson. So long-winded way of saying, I think he's got a chance to keep Clarkson better than DeAndre Moore, right? But from what I told, he's got his work cut out. Okay, that's where we're at with that. So I took way too much time on the first question. I won't be that long with the rest of these. EKY card 643 made a little joke. Then I guess he's saying, which kids in the class is Louisville most likely to retain? All right, that one right there is a tricky question, because again, you got 2 weeks to evaluate all these Louisville commits and figure out who you want to get, right? I think Luke Burgess is someone who could be retained. He's from Indianapolis, he's from New Palestine in Indiana. Madden Sanker is a kid who I think could be retained. The problem is they had a really, really tight bond with the former coach, Nick Cardwell. So, I mean, who's the O-line coach going to be here? I don't know. I'm sure that somebody's going to have to reach out, but I try to retain those two if I was Brohm. I think Stanquan Clark's had a foot out the door for a while. I think he ends up at Miami. Katarius Hicks, the little slot receiver from Miami, he could be a kid that needs to be evaluated by staff to decide if they want him or not. William Foles, same boat. He seems to be very active on Twitter, saying that he's still good with Louisville right now, but we don't know if Louisville is real good with him. So that remains to be seen. I already spoke on DeAndre Moore. I think Aaron Williams is probably a kid that can be retained out of St. Bosco's. He's a 4-star DB, 6'2" kid. I think that Louisville's got a shot. I can't really get into why he is more likely to come to Louisville than the other Bosco kids, but let's just say that he's in a different situation. Jamari Johnson, tight end from Inglewood, newly minted 4-star, 6'5", 245 on the sideline hurdling dudes. He's a monster. They got to try to keep him, okay? But he's on a visit to Pitt. I was also told that he really wants to go to Oregon if things don't work out at Louisville. So Oregon, probably more of a threat than Pitt if Oregon has room for him. I don't know what their recruiting situation is, but I think Jamari Johnson is a must-keep player, especially because of how Brohm uses his tight ends. So, but again, he's he's in Pittsburgh this weekend on an official visit, and Brohm's going to be out in California. So ships in the night, planes in the night, whatever you want to say. That one might be tough. Going to have to make up some work there. Raekwon Adkins, same boat as the other kids that I talked about earlier from Florida. Raekwon's from Miami. He's been committed to Louisville since March. He's on a visit to Cincinnati, but you saw Coach Hope intercept him at the airport down there before he was able to fly out there and taking L's up pictures. I thought that was a smooth move right there by Hove. I don't know. I don't know if he's a guy that Brohm wants to keep or not. That's something that we'll see soon. Apparently, Hove thinks that Brohm should keep him. So we'll see. Pierce Clarkson, already talked about him. And Adonijah Green, I hope that's how you say his name. I butcher it every time. I know I'm saying it wrong. My apologies. Rumors are that he's talking to Satterfield down there at Cincinnati. Remember, he was the first kid to commit to this class. He committed to Satterfield and them Christmas Eve in 2021. So I don't know, man. I've heard Ole Miss. He might be coming here. Mark Ivy still here. So who knows? Maybe he gets retained and Adonijah comes. I think Adonijah's shaky, though. So, I mean, the class has the potential to fall apart. I'm not going to lie. It's a Herculean task to pull in all these kids for Brohm. Now, can he do it? Sure. Can he retain the majority of these kids? I think it's possible, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be if he's able to keep 8 of these kids, right? There's 12 now. If he only loses 4 A+ job, amazing job, one of the best recruiting jobs I've ever seen in my time covering recruiting, if he's able to salvage the bulk of this class, starting with the Flyville 23 California kids. If he could keep all those kids, recruiter of the year in 2 weeks. All right. The next question comes from, and of course I closed the recruiting chat. Here we go. J Mac. Do we take Brady Allen and Clarkson? Is Brohm going to watch the Cali boys in the state championship game? Yep. These questions are from Wednesday, so they're a little old. Do we take Brady Allen and Clarkson? I don't think so, because I don't think Brady Allen would sit for a year and then want to come and sit for another year. But that being said, he would have 2 years here before he's draft eligible. I don't think so. Kids don't come places like that when they're trying to get to the field and start, especially quarterbacks, because you need, unless you're Mitch Trubisky, you only have 1 year of college film and go in the first round. It's hard. You want 2 years of film usually. So I don't know. I don't think so, though. I don't know that the Brady Allen kid's even thinking about coming here because he hasn't hit the portal. He's still enrolled at Purdue. So at this point, it'd be tampering if they're out there talking to him. So I'm not getting into that. All right, Midnight Rambler, my man. He says he's talking about Austin Allen, the Western Kentucky quarterback, and he's talking about he's going to transfer to Louisville. And he's saying it's fair to assume Clarkson won't be here, which begs the question about the best Brohm-style QB still left. And then he asked about some kid that was committed to Purdue that he had a visit with, and asked if there was still a chance with him. No, because that kid was saying it annoyed him that Brohm was in his house recruiting him while he knew he was going to Louisville or whatever. But I mean, that always happens. That's the game. It is what it is. I think Brian Kelly was recruiting for Notre Dame at a kid's house when the news broke he was going to LSU. So whatever that's worth. But I don't know about this Western Kentucky quarterback, man. I keep hearing it. I know that the interest is there on his side. I don't know that the interest is there on this side because it just happened, right? So if the kid's walking around Bowling Green telling everybody he's transferring to Louisville, that's one thing, I could walk around here saying I'm about to take Scarlett Johansson on a date, but sure, I'm interested, but is she? I don't know yet. We'll see, though. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I just haven't heard anything from the Louisville side on that situation right there. And then he asked also, no, never mind. Picard at 79 asks, which currently committed kids do you see going with SAT to UC? Well, Jalen Davis has already flipped to Cincinnati, right? So that's one. I could see Raekwon Adams or Atkins. He's already there visiting. I could see Kataris Hicks flipping there if they want him. I could see them trying to make a run at Luke Burgess, honestly, and Madden Sanker, because Nick Cardwell is the one that's going there. I don't think they'll do it, but I don't think they'll flip there. But I'd keep an eye on them because they're really close with Cardwell. I hope I'm saying his name right. I could see Raekwon Adams going out there. I forgot about Jaleel McClain, Clarkson's buddy. I think Jaleel goes wherever Clarkson goes. I can see Adonis J. Green flipping to Cincinnati, as a matter of fact. So those are the ones. Maybe William Foles if they reach out. I would say any of the lower ranked kids will probably give a look at Cincinnati for sure. Crypto Pal asked, what players in your mind have NIL deals that would leave them more likely to stay here in this class? Look, man, I have no idea. Honestly, it would be the California kids because, how else you going to get the kid fly from Cali to Louisville without what is it, an inducement, right? So I think they've been induced to come out here for sure. But that's obvious, right? We all know that. Stanquan Clark would have to have a big chunk of NIL inducement to want to come here too. He's from Miami. He's got options. He's got SEC options. He got Miami. He got FSU. I mean, he could be gone, but he hasn't decommitted yet, which is good. So long-winded way of saying, I don't know what NIL deals people have, but surely it would be the Clarkson crew, the Flyville 23, those guys. All right, Midnight Ramp. Nope. Reese for 3 is having a conversation in the recruiting chat, not asking questions. The Infraggable Crunk. Do you know? No, yeah, is that Crunk? The Infraggable Crunk. What is Infraggable? I gotta look that up. Do you know anything about the NIL deals? No. I don't know. I'm not talking about NIL, man. I'm not dealing with that. CC with a big 3. Do you think that Brohm can begin to recruit here as well as we saw Sat do this past cycle? Good question. Also, do you think Kylan Fox might still come here? I know the turnover in the program. I know with the turnover in the program, everything is up in the air, most likely. Just anything you have is much appreciated. I think Brohm could definitely recruit as well as Satterfield did, because what we saw was Satterfield finally learning how to recruit in the ACC and delegating the task. And who did he delegate it to? He delegated it to Steve Clarkson, and that's a wise move because Clarkson is a quarterback guru in California in a talented area who has connections everywhere. And so that's the type of guy that you want to get with. The problem is you're ceding a little authority over your roster, but that's fine because a lot of coaches do that. And what's the worst thing that happens? They get here, they're not as advertised, they're a bust, they're not cutting it on the depth chart, whatever it is, bye, they transfer. That's not your fault. You signed the kid, you gave him the NIL deal, he came in, couldn't beat out the competition, wanted to leave, no hard feelings, see you later. So I think that that's the key for this new era of NIL. I think the head coach is going to have to understand that there's going to be a little bit of a push and pull here in the power dynamics, all right? Or else you're just going to be out here fighting against other coaches who will make that concession, right? So I think that Brohm can. I think Brohm needs a recruiting guy. He needs somebody like a Morrow to come in and kind of run that show. And Brohm can just focus on what he needs to focus on and trust that the people he delegate to handle the recruiting situation. So I think that's what we saw Sat do. I think we'll see Brohm do that here, especially with the the Adidas affiliations and things of that nature. Colin Fox might come here. Yeah, sure. I mean, he wanted to come here. And again, Jeff Brohm focuses on tight ends. Like, he does a great job with tight ends. So I think that the staff would be wise to establish connections with him. He's a 24 kid and be like, hey, look, man, let's keep this going with Louisville. You're familiar with the city, you're familiar with the campus. Get familiar with us. Chris 122093. What transfer portal guys do you think come to Louisville? I don't know because it's a new staff. I don't know who they want. I barely know their offense. All I know is they threw a lot of bubble screens and smoke screens to Rondale Moore, and he caught the ball and ran over people, all 5-6 of them, and that's what I watched. And then once Rondale left, I stopped watching Purdue. So I don't know who's going to come yet because I haven't even broken ground yet with a lot of these people on the staff. I don't even know who's here. So I have no idea. They'll get some guys though, believe me. Shonda, I solely care about Ruben Owens. I need him. Will I get him? Shoot 677. How many good QBs will we take? 12. We're going to get 12 good QBs and 3 excellent QBs. How many quality DNs linebackers will we get out of the portal? Oh, man. We want good or we just want quality? What are we talking about here? I don't know, man. I don't know. Malachi Corley status. Still enrolled at Western Kentucky University. Jay Grimes. Are all the Bosco kids tied together? No. I'd say they are, but they're not. I think they're tied together right now as Bosco kids, but all that package deal, all that stuff, that starts to come apart at the seams when your coach leaves 2 weeks before National Signing Day, and everybody got to find their own life raft. But if Pierce stays, McLean stays, Williams will stay. Moore is the guy that I'm looking at as, where am I going? Where am I going? I was also told that if Owens stayed, Clarkson would have stayed, but Owens left. But that doesn't mean that now that Owens left, Clarkson is leaving. That just means if A would have happened, then B. But now we don't know what's going to happen because A didn't happen. But there's also C through Z. Hope you could catch that. Reese for 3 quotes Zach Soskin. Also, any less than 100% positive post I had about Brohm before we were just because I was out. Reese, just this is for questions. This isn't for comments or takes. Just ask your question about the chat, bro. Here's another comment to the comment. Foxhound 22. Another comment. All right, good old Cardinal Cash. He knows how the chat works. Any chance we keep the wide receivers we have committed? Don't know because I don't think that Brohm has evaluated these kids. I would try to keep as many as I could just because it's, almost signing day and you're going to be shopping from the Dennett can crate, cart. Y'all say buggy or grocery cart or shopping cart? Which one is it, buggy or shopping cart? Let me know in the comments. Also, Cardinal Cash says, we are very low on receiving talent. Oof, harsh. AHB, Amari Huggins Bruce, seems on board staying now. But what about the 23 guys coming in? Again, like I told you, I don't know because it's a new staff. But I think of all of them, they're going to try to keep more, right? DeAndre Moore he's a force. All right. Any idea if the O-line will stick? I spoke about that. I think Burgess is more likely than Sanker. But I think Burgess will listen to Cardwell and Satterfield at Cincinnati. Sanker might too, but I think they could keep those guys, Burgess especially. Noah Winch. Noah Winch put a comment in the question, but he said Sanker seems locked based off his Twitter. Well, what are we doing subscribing to cardinalsports.com? All you need to do is look at a 17-year-old kid's Twitter. That'll tell you everything you need to know. Stop wasting your money. Stay on Twitter. Let's follow teenagers on Twitter. All right. This is another comment by Reese. Another comment by Reese. Reese, you're killing me, Reese. Card blood. The in-state classes are pretty weak if we're being honest. What area would you anticipate Brohm and staff recruiting the hardest? They're going to stay out in Indiana because they got ties out there already. They'll try to pick the best players from here, and they better start hitting Ohio. But they get kids from all over the place. They got the Caraway's a 4-star defensive tackle from Texas. So, I mean, also, you land Clarkson and then you stay out in California. At this point, I mean, it's a pipeline. It's a long-ass pipeline that stretches across the entire continent. But if you got it, smoke it. So there we go. Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee, and California. If they get Clarkson and McComb. Tennessee too. Watch out. Tennessee's talented. I'm in Tennessee right now. Beautiful out here in the mountains. A lot of stuff about bears. Don't feed the bears. I hope there ain't no bears out here. Anyway, Gorgie 22. Brady Allen seems to be a much better fit for a Jeff Brohm offense. I've never seen Brady Allen play, so if you say so. How do you think it shakes out between he and Clarkson? With what Jeff does, I'd much prefer Allen, even though I know our fan base is in love with Pierce. I think it shakes out. If they don't hit Clarkson, they'll go try to get Allen, but they can't try to go get Allen because that'd be tampering. So I really can't say how it's going to shake out. Cardinal Cash says, is Allen a statue back there? A statue back there? No, I don't know because I don't watch kids that are committed to Purdue. I guess I need to go watch that. Also, I haven't read this beforehand, as you could tell. Captain Crunch. All right. 101518. Don't put your whole social security number on the internet, bro. All right, Captain Crunch. Owens is priority number one. Any information for okay, Owens is gone. I know you think the class folds. Okay. I know you think the class folds, but it is also very odd that not one player has decommitted yet. Since this was posted, 3 players have decommitted. Is it 3 or is it 2? Jaden Davis is decommitted. Ruben Owens decommitted. Am I forgetting someone? Anyway, I would have thought chips would start falling if they were going to. Any chatter from Scott Satterfield camp? I'm assuming that's what SC camp means. I think that you guys are acting like if a coach leaves, everybody just instantly announces that they decommit. Like that's not the priority for those kids or their family or their trainers or their coaches. Their priority is, okay, let's see where else we can go right now before we decommit. You don't just decommit right away unless you have somewhere else to go. Jaden Davis had somewhere else to go. So did Ruben Owens, right? These other kids might be like, well, let me see if this new staff is going to come talk to me because it's 14 days, right? Well, it was like 20 days before signing day when this news broke. So there's no reason to rush and scramble when you can still get a chance to talk to the new coach and see if your spot is still there. So that's why. And if kids haven't heard from Brohm by now, I would assume they don't have an offer anymore. Captain Crunch also asks, do you believe, let me reiterate that. If a kid has not heard from Jeff Brohm by now on Saturday, when he was hired basically Wednesday, it's been recruiting since Wednesday, then I would say that that kid's probably not coming because he doesn't have an offer anymore. And there's 12 kids. I could call 12 kids in 2 hours. So that's my take on that. Captain Crunch also says, do you believe Flyville 23 is an anomaly, or do you think we have the recipe to continue to recruit at a high level? The recipe, I mean, I'm going to say the recipe was with the other coaches staff, but that might not be the case here because kind of the whole thing was driven by Clarkson out there on the West Coast, but a lot of guys were working hard to get those Miami kids. So I'll tell you, man, it seems like they have an infrastructure in place where you could put another coach in and he'll just follow, he could talk to the people they need to talk to. I'm sure Josh Hare, the AD, has some say in what was going on and how it was going on, obviously. And then he's got his people that, that are his connections. So I think it's a plug and play concept. Yes, I think if Brohm is able to adopt whatever was happening beforehand with no problem, I think you can see a smooth transition into that type of recruiting again. If not, then they're going to have to go out and find another connect, and they're going to have to do that this year anyway. Keep in mind that the anomaly was you go out and you find a guy like Steve Clarkson who's plugged into all those recruits out there in California, and he makes noise and he gets a ton of kids here. I mean, you got like four stars from out of that, right? Well, 3, but yes, if he can continue to work with Steve out there in Cali to get other kids and then find some other people like that. I think Chris Vaughn is a good example of that too, because him and Brohm are tight. Chris sent Rondale to Purdue and Jeff took very good care of Rondale. Rondale was drafted in the 2nd round. He sent DJ Washington out there. He sent a couple of kids out to Purdue. So him and Jeff are tight, and I don't see Jeff coming in here saying, no, we're not recruiting aspirations kids like the last 3 coaching regimes did. But I think you'll see that happen. So long-winded way of saying I believe that 23 was an anomaly, but then it can become the trend. It can become what it is. So, sure. Let's see what else we got here. All right, Reese actually is giving me a question now. Dave Lackford, I'm curious if there has been a general reaction in the recruiting world since news broke. Does it raise Louisville's profile in the recruiting landscape? Other schools less than excited about the move? General buzz. Well, that's a good question, but I gotta say they've already raised their profile in the recruiting landscape this class. I mean, everybody was like, "What the hell, Louisville? What? Ruben Owens, Pierce Clarkson, DeAndre Moore? How?" Right? So their profile was elevated already, and now with Satterfield leaving in right before signing day, this whole thing's in jeopardy, right? So I guess the question would be, does it maintain their current recruiting profile in the landscape? And my answer to that question would be, we're about to find out if he can hold these kids in place, especially DeAndre Moore. If he can keep Clarkson and Moore and McClain and Williams in this class, and Jamari Johnson too, if he can keep all 5 of those kids, I said the California pipeline is in full effect. But if he can't, then it's not. It's just going to go back to it's Louisville. We knew those kids weren't going to come, and they'll say that unfairly, totally omitting the fact that the coaching change happened right before National Signing Day. But that's what people are going to look at. They're not going to remember. You don't remember that this team lost the national championship because Colt McCoy got hurt. And, you know what I mean? Like, they just know that Texas lost to Bama and that. So that's the way they'll look at this. If the class falls apart, they'd be like, knew they wouldn't go to Louisville, totally omitting the fact the circumstance behind the coaches. But other schools are not happy that Brohm is at Louisville, I can tell you that. And the general buzz in the recruiting world is from people I've spoken to, is that Brohm will get the guys he wants to come here. He's more of a developer of talent than he is necessarily a recruiter. But I would say that he's a very good recruiter to get classes that were consistently in the top 30 or whatever. He beat out a lot of schools for David Bell. I mean, that's a huge win. I mean, he got quality players to come there, and he identifies players well too. That class he brought from Western Kentucky to Purdue had some 2-stars in there that got drafted. So I mean, he does what he's doing. I think he'll be fine, and I think if he's able to acclimate to the way that Louisville's doing the NIL faster, sooner rather than later, I think he saves his class. I think he can save this class as far as the California kids go. But again, it's going to be a Herculean task. All right, let's look at what the next question is on page 2. CC with a big 3 says, all right, which coach that we had in the recruiting department or previous staff was close with TJ Capers? And should we just write off all our 2024 targets? Also, what's the word on that 2024 4-star running back that is committed to us? I ain't even been thinking about 24, man. So I don't know. We'll see. They should not get right off any 24 target. They got plenty of time. It's 23 class, that's the issue. Does Clarkson fit Brohm's offense? Man, look, I'm going to be honest with you. When Pierce Clarkson committed, started doing all the Flyville stuff, and I knew he was coming here, I stopped watching this film. I don't know. I've never seen one iota of his huddle because I'm not a coach. I'm not a player I'm not a talent evaluator at this point. I don't do the stars. I don't know how you get them stars. Ask Woody Womack. I just say, this kid's coming, this kid's not coming. That's it. So I don't know. Any portal wide receivers licking their chops to be in this offense that you've heard of? What does that mean? Licking their chops. What is a chop? I don't know what that means. That's a weird. Somebody can explain what licking their chops means to me down in the comment section. But no, Cardinal Cash. I haven't heard any receivers in the transfer portal licking their chops yet. Perhaps the chops will be licked soon and I'll hear about it. But as of now, I have not gotten wind of any chops being licked. CC with a big 3. Also, since no one is hopping in, any transfer portal names to watch for the O-line? Sean Young probably go to Northwestern or Vanderbilt or something like that. Duke, but he's not coming here. He might, but I doubt it. Quarterback 12. I imagine the board is going to completely reset for 2024 and beyond. No, all the boards reset right now. They're just trying to keep a few players from the 23 class. Will Clarkson still come if Allen does as well? I doubt it, Ethan. Ethan Moore asked that. Cards 1189. Do you think that Brohm will continue the recruiting momentum that we have in the 24 class? Well, they have one commit in the 24 class. No, I'm kidding. I know what you're saying. I think we lost all the recruiting momentum when Satterfield left and you lost Ruben Owens and Jaden Davis decommitted. So I think that we have to I think it's gone now. I think that Brohm is now rebuilding all momentum. Everything's come to a stop, and now Brohm has to set it in motion. Okay, but it's hard to do that a couple weeks before signing day. Who is our most likely QB add out of? Clarkson, Allen, Reed. Ooh, Clarkson, because he's committed still, and I don't know what's up with Reed, and Allen is still enrolled at Purdue. Will Ruben Bain still consider Louisville? No, he's down to Miami and Florida State. Do you think there is any CC with a big three? Do you think there is any realistic shot Ben Perry hops back out of the portal to play for Brohm? And what do you think? Yes, because he hasn't committed somewhere else. He hasn't committed to Cincinnati yet. He hasn't committed to, he's from Chicago, so the Fighting Illini or whatever. So I think he should definitely come back and at least hear out what the pitch is to him and give him a chance. I thought he hopped in there a little prematurely, but whatever. Hack 13. What does bringing in Brohm do for the recruits in the state of Kentucky? Makes it a lot harder for Kentucky to get them, but also with Chris Vaughn on board, it resets everything. Like the power shift has now been, it's up for grabs. There's a vacuum of power now in Kentucky, and it's up to Brohm to decide if he's going to grab it or if Kentucky just wants to keep taking 3-star running backs that they end up not taking on signing days. Who knows? I don't really care about the state of Kentucky anymore. I'm gonna be 100 with you. They went out and got Ruben Owens. They got DeAndre Moore. They got Jeremiah Johnson. They got Pierce Clarkson. They got freaking Stanquan Clark, one of the best middle linebackers playing in Miami. Miami is linebacker U, and they got him to commit to Louisville instead of Miami. Come on. Listen, I don't care. If Stanquan Clark comes to Kentucky, he's going to be Michael Meyer. If Stanquan Clark comes to Kentucky and plays football, he is going to dominate every offense he plays, and he's going to play running back or something, or quarterback or something crazy on offense where they just give him the ball and he kills dudes. Like, you have to understand, the state of Kentucky is not a football hotbed. There will be 4 to 5 guys in the state of Kentucky that have the opportunity to play for another school outside of this region. And that's on a good year. That's on a great year. Are there 5 guys that could pick between Bama, Clemson, whatever, right? Other than that, you got guys that are local dudes who you hope pan out, right? So if you go to Florida, if you go to just the city of Miami, there will be 45 to 50 players that have the ability to play for the local schools. And you're going to have about 20 of them who are getting looked at, maybe 30 of them that are getting looked at by out-of-state schools that can go anywhere. So I don't want the focal point to be Kentucky. Kentucky should be easy. Kentucky should be like, oh, you want to come to Louisville? Okay, eat your vegetables and eat your steak and practice hard, listen to coach, and we'll swing back around in December, see how you're doing. That to me is how recruiting the state of Kentucky should be. That's how it should be, honestly. I would rather be in Indiana. I'd rather be in Indianapolis. I'd rather be in Indiana recruiting Indiana, Ohio, Tennessee. Those are the states you want to be in. But yes, I think Brown will be fine with the state of Kentucky. You'll get some. Let me see. You know what? I'm not even going to do it. I was going to look up who the top 10 players are. I don't even go to the games anymore because I'm not doing Kentucky preps anymore. So I don't know. Will Brohm bring a Big Ten recruitment philosophy to the ACC? That's a good question. I thought about that myself. I hope so, because that means that he's able to get these big D tackles and D linemen that they've been getting the last year or two. I would like to see a dominant D line that could rival, Clemson. But I think that you recruit the way that you can recruit, if that makes sense. I don't think it's a Big Ten recruitment philosophy. I think it's all right, where am I now? What do these players need here? What do I need to compete against my competition here? So the Big Ten philosophy might not be the best philosophy for the ACC. Cards rule the world. Currently uncommitted 23 four-star Jamarion Wilcox, high school teammate of Madden Sanker, was offered by Brohm at Purdue. Is this someone who could replace Ruben Owens? I don't think so. I think that kid is down to like his top schools at this point. And I think it's looking like, I don't know. Long-winded way of saying, I don't know, dude. Perhaps. Who are the possible targets in this class and portal? Look, we're going to find all this out after signing day, and we're going to see some offers going out from Louisville from Brohm, okay? But at this point in time, it's very rare to see new relationships being formed, okay? So we'll see, but I think right now he's trying to keep the kids he has committed that he wants here, and then going to have to reload and shoot for the portal more than the high school, which is fine. I'd prefer that, honestly, and also going to have to check for new kids that didn't sign in the early signing period that perhaps they can flip. But those kids tend to have, issues, if you will. That's why they didn't sign early. So we'll see how it goes. But I think they'll hit the portal. The portal is going to be more important than the high school class this year. 24. I mean, I think it's always going to be more important than a high school class from here on out, to be honest with you. I mean, you got a kid who's already played at a higher level than high school, and you can watch his film and see how he does against better competition. So, and who knows how to be a college athlete, who has the grades, who knows the weight room, right? So I take portal all day. If I could use all my scholarships in the portal and not high school, that's how I would roll. I wouldn't even recruit high school anymore, to be honest. Sorry. But anyway, UL cards. Dave, has Milton Wright been back in Louisville after he was declared ineligible? Odds on him joining. So he was declared ineligible at Purdue last year. I don't know the situation. I don't know how far behind he was. I don't know if they can get him eligible at Louisville. I have no idea. It would be interesting if they could, and I would expect Milton to do everything he could to get back to playing football. He was supposed to be the man for them this year, and then they had to go out and get the Charlie Jones kid who was the man. So we'll see, but I doubt it. Trevor, 32-32. Is Colin Fox still an option? Yes. Do we lose Jamari Johnson now? It's not looking good, but hopefully they can get him to stay. And do we go after a new running back or go with the portal? Always go with the portal, brother. From DeVille, but sure, they could get another running back as well from high school, but I'd go with the portal. From DeVille, what is your realistic best case scenario for U of L and Flyville 23 at this point? I get realistically, man, I don't think they're able to keep most of them, but the best case scenario is you keep them all. Right. I think they could keep Clarkson for real. And if Clarkson sticks, you can get them all. So I don't know, bro. We'll see. I don't think they keep him if I have money to my head because it's just so late in the game and it's such a terrible circumstance. But other people are swearing that they're going to come. So, again, this isn't me saying I know for sure these kids are decommitting. All I've been told was before Brohm set up that visit to go out there, there was supposed to be some kind of announcement on Sunday, okay? But now maybe Brohm has the ability to go out there and change what that announcement is going to be or to just simply have that announcement canceled. All right. Cards rule the world. Currently uncommitted. Joshua Mickens, he's asking if he'll come to Louisville. Joshua Mickens, sorry. Yeah, it's a good question. I know that the other staff kind of was cool on him. I don't know that Brohm continued to recruit him either. He's from Indianapolis, and he hadn't committed to Purdue. I forget where he committed. I think it was like LSU. When I saw that, I was like, that. I don't think that guy's really going to end up signing with an SEC school. And I was right. So maybe he comes. Maybe he doesn't. I'd rather keep Green than add anybody else. Bobby P 3.0. What are your general thoughts on the hire and what can we do recruiting-wise here at Louisville with the NIL opportunities? Love the hire. Jeff Brohm's great. Awesome. I'm not going to sit here and add to the love fest that's already happened in the local media. I'll just say, it's a no-brainer. What we're talking about here is awesome. And I think he'll be fine with the NIL opportunities until they're not. Here's the problem with NIL opportunities. A lot of these kids get told they're getting X amount of money, getting this, getting that, and then they get to school and they don't get their money. And then you see their recruiting classes start to slack off, hint, hint, look around. Notice, these guys getting awesome class, and then trash. Checks bounced. UL cards number 1. who could be talked out of the transfer portal. They can all be talked out of the transfer portal except Luke Kendrick because he signed with somebody else. So I think any of those kids can be retained, right? That's real. All right. All right. Red head for the Redbirds. Redhead for the Redbirds. What a name. How much of this past recruiting class would you say is because of the coaching staff that's on the way out, and how much is the support staff, NIL university itself? Is it realistic to think Brohm can replicate the type of recruiting success here with the existing infrastructure, or it'll be an uphill battle to keep the 23 class? Yes, but I think he can replicate the type of recruiting success because there's an infrastructure, as you said. So yes, I think he can replicate the type of recruiting class. I think he can surpass it. But yes, it's going to be an uphill battle just for this 23 class. And it's always an uphill battle in recruiting. I mean, it's uphill till, you get to the top, and then you got to fight to stay there. So, I mean, Alabama's still battling recruits. A&M is still battling, even though they fell off down the mountain. And he wants to know how much of the past recruiting class is he wants to know, like, what's moving the needle the most, right? Is it the NIL? Is it the university? Is it the support staff? I would say the football coaches. I think that it's all connected, right? Not one part is bigger than the whole. So I think the NIL is the bigger piece of the pie, right? And then I say the university is always, to me, the university is kind of like irrelevant sometimes. I mean, as long as you have the facilities that everyone else has, then I think the university kind of keeps it the same, keeps it level. And then you look at location close to home, and that's when I think the university really moves the needle. And it's like, all right, do I want to go all the way over there, or can I just go up the street here and stay home, or can I go an hour down the road? I think that is really what it is once all the other factors of the university are held constant. And then, of course, the coaching staff is a part of it, because as much as these kids are going to be out here getting NIL deals to advertise for Morgan and Morgan or whatever, you also have to understand that these kids want to get to the league and get filmed for pro scouts so they can go get to the millions of dollars in the NFL. And if you're in the wrong system, you're not going to get the film. Case in point, Wan'Dale Robinson playing halfback for Scott Frost, running the ball on 4th and goal into the A gap. Okay. So these things matter. The coaching staff matters. You can't just say, oh, the coach don't matter, because they do. So I would say the NIL and the coaching staff are probably equal there, right? And the better your NIL, the coaching staff may go a little bit down or up, but it's not this huge thing either way. You can have all the NIL money, and if Brian Van Gorder is the head coach of Tulane University, kids ain't going to Tulane, right? So that's it. So I hope I answered all your questions about everything here in the chat. I am about to get out of here and see if I can find something to do without getting eaten by a bear. So that's it. Drop any other questions you have below, and somebody please tell me what licking their chops means. All right. Thank you. Peace.